This is Daily Armenia, CivilNet's daily news digest. Here's what's making headlines in Armenia today. Armenia's foreign ministry said today that a meeting between special envoys Ruben Rubinian and Serdar Kilic is expected in Armenia in the coming days as part of the ongoing normalization process between Yerevan and Ankara. The ministry did not provide further details. According to Turkey's NTV television, Kilic will travel to Armenia by land through the Margara crossing point. The broadcaster reported that the meeting is expected to address the implementation of earlier decisions and outline new steps toward normalizing bilateral relations. The meeting will touch upon the potential establishment of diplomatic relations and the opening of the long-shuttered, shared border. Rubinian told reporters today, "There are no obstacles from our side. We're ready to open the border and establish relations any day, tomorrow if need be," he said. Although the two countries officially recognize each other, they do not have diplomatic relations. Their land border has been closed since 1993, when Turkey unilaterally shut it during the First Karabakh War in support of Azerbaijan. The normalization process between Yerevan and Ankara began in January 2022 when Rubinian and Kilic first met in Moscow. That same year, the sides agreed to open the border to third country nationals and diplomats, but Ankara has yet to implement the decision. This was followed by several other meetings, notably at Margara in July 2024. It has long been assumed that Turkey would only reopen the border once Armenia and Azerbaijan concluded their own normalization process. While the two nations have not yet signed a full agreement and remain technically at war, they initialed a US brokered deal at the White House last month, pledging to cease hostilities. Both Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan and Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev subsequently declared that peace has been achieved. The formal signing of the deal is not expected until next summer. Aliyev insists that Armenia must first amend its constitution, which he believes contains territorial claims on Karabakh. Amending the document requires a nationwide referendum, and it is widely believed that Pashinyan wants to hold the vote on the same day as parliamentary elections, which must take place no later than June 20th, 2026. However, Baku's pressure on Yerevan to change its constitution could prove counterproductive, stoking, rather than alleviating, the threat of Armenians with a nationalist agenda returning to power and seeking to retake control of Karabakh. A Belgium-based liberal think tank, International Crisis Group, said in its report published on Friday, "A change in Armenia's constitution to remove the references to Karabakh will not eliminate irredentism from Armenian political culture. After all, any future Armenian government that believes it can take back Karabakh will not be constrained by what is or is not in the constitution," the report said. Crisis Group cautioned that Azerbaijani pressure risks undermining Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan's efforts to sideline irredentist views and weakening what it called the best negotiating partner Baku is likely to have. The report argued that constitutional reform carries a high chance of failure, which could collapse the peace process altogether. Even if attempted, it would take at least a year to complete, during which time stray fire on the border, internal instability in Armenia, or wider global turmoil could derail the effort. Foreign diplomats have warned Baku that its demands could easily backfire, but these admonitions do not seem to be taken seriously, the report noted. One European diplomat even told the Crisis Group that if Azerbaijan came to the peace agreement as the priority, it could still back down on the constitutional issue. Elchin Amirbayov, Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev's special envoy, reiterated Baku's demand for constitutional changes today. There are still provisions in Armenia's constitution that contain unacceptable territorial claims and contradict Azerbaijan's sovereignty and territorial integrity, he said, adding that to establish lasting peace, Armenia's fundamental law must be aligned with the text and spirit of the peace agreement already initialed by the countries. The Crisis Group also noted that policymakers in Baku often see the peace deal as a net loss from a zero-sum perspective, making them comfortable with the situation that they have now. Securing approval for constitutional reform through a referendum would be a steep challenge, analysts said. It would require a majority of votes cast in favor and a turnout of at least 25%. Local experts told ICG that turnout will be difficult to secure for a reform that even supporters view with reluctance, especially if the referendum is not held alongside parliamentary elections. It will never pass. It's impossible, a member of Armenia's Constitutional Reform Council told the publication. Although Karabakh Armenian speakers have criticized the peace deal for sidelining the return of refugees and warned they may try to act as spoilers, ICG concluded that they hold little sway among the society fatigued by war. And finally, the CivilNet number of the day is 2000. That is because 2,000 listeners attended a concert of the Armenian National Philharmonic Orchestra in the historical complex of Persepolis in Iran on Saturday. The event, dedicated to the 100th anniversary of the orchestra's founding, brought together the best pages of Armenian and Iranian classical music. The concert uniquely connected millennia of history with modern creative spirit, offering audiences an extraordinary cultural experience in one of the world's most important ancient sites. And as always, please follow CivilNet for the latest news and independent reporting from our contributors on the ground here in Armenia.